The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Thanks, Nighthawk. You're back. That's you, the listener, is back with David Mackey shouting that out on Revolution Radio, the #1 listener-supported talk radio on the net. So do push the donate button. Also, go into the archives and download our shows or Solaris' shows. Or it's all in MP3 format, so you can binge it. Do it. Do it for yourself. Also, get yourself some great merchandise from the station's website, a t-shirt, mug, or anything you like that you find there. All the artwork's done by another host of the station, a mad painter. You will like it. Now, we're going to thank you immediately for listening to Revolution Radio and inviting us into your lives. Now, if you can't donate, tell someone about the station, so maybe they can, because we know times are hard, and it's the powers that be that have designed this hardship upon us all and are deleting the middle class so that everyone will become basically the working poor. And it sounds like alarmism. What the hell? Take it for what you want it is. And that's what I think it is. Because it's happening not just in your country, it's happening in our country, it's happening in everybody's countries, everyone that's signed up to the WEF. Great reset, we're all part of it. But anyway, look, we have today, it's been a long time since we've had a guest, and we should have done it more often, I know, but we have a wonderful guest. This is part 2, so if you found this one, there's a part 1 that you need to get onto as well, and you'll find this on YouTube, because we put our archives there, and mostly they get deleted by YouTube, and then they're on, what's the other, Rumble. So everything that gets deleted off YouTube goes onto Rumble, and good luck with that. Don't care who you are, it's trying to silence us. You know, we haven't been monetized for a long time, so good luck with that. That's all I'm saying. We're not in it for the money, we're in it for the message, and we
money. Money.
He likes the money. I wish I had the money. I'm currently not employed, so if anyone wishes to gainfully employ me for my opinion and my outrightness, yes, that was perfectly cromulent. And that wasn't even Mr. Burns' voice. Yes.
Big mood, though. Big mood.
So we have a special guest, Zo'i Graestone, or Miss B, as you know her. Wonderful radio host, guest on Solaris' show for like ever, and welcome back to Shiny Side Out Part 2.
Nice. Thanks so much for having me, you guys. It's so exciting. Yeah, I've been very excited to talk with you guys for ages now, and
oh wow.
Yeah, and I love Solaris because she, because of her, I'm here meeting all you guys, and
you can't
I get to share.
Though, eh?
I get to share my show. Yeah, no, she's my fairy godmother. I love her.
We started talking last March, and last March. And I couldn't believe it. No, but seriously though, honestly, I pinged Zo'i after Solaris' show. Hey, because I asked Solaris if it would be okay.
Not this March. That's just been.
No. We're talking 2023.
Last, like 2023.
No, seriously. And I looked at it. That can't be right. That can't be right. And I looked at it again. No, what? That happened. Yes, Friday, March 17th, 2023. What? And nothing in between. And I'm thinking, how could a year and a half almost have passed between me making contact and actually now us having Zo'i? And I have no explanation. I really don't. I mean, yeah, life is busy, sure, but this is just nuts.
Scheduling, Mickey.
Well, yeah, but not. I mean, I have no explanation.
Right?
I mean, it's my bad, but I just have no explanation how so much time could have possibly passed. It's just
That's
nuts.
a very fast-flowing river.
It is.
Even though
Well,
it's
Can be,
linear,
that's for sure.
it's
You
meant
those
to be
rocks,
linear.
and you're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be linear. It just so isn't. I don't care what you say.
Time is
Yeah.
the limit.
I don't know whose design it was, but somebody someone pulled a Microsoft and everything's very curvy instead. It's
There you go.
great.
Full of holes. It's hilarious.
Right, it's
Nice.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
Whoever
Yeah,
invented
exactly.
Swiss cheese, I've got a bone to pick.
Actually, that's you triggered me again. I'm curious. There's a pet theory I
Good
have.
at that.
No, you're great. You're a great trigger. Maybe I should just have you next to me all the time. But I love the work that now I can't think of his name. 411. Help me out, Dave. Paul.
So 411.
Paulides.
Yes,
David
David
Paulides.
Paulides.
Yeah, that's you.
Yes.
Yeah, so he does great work with the people that go missing in parklands, etc. And he just mentioned Swiss cheese, Swiss cheese holes, etc. And we had him on the show. He's a great guy. Long time ago, and I've watched his documentaries, and people are disappearing in very strange fashions, and come
And
back
not just in the US, but around the world.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that makes sense to me, and I'm really curious, I mean, if you have an opinion, please let. That's why I'm asking you, Zoe. I think that these people, or at least some of these disappearances and reappearances, in fact, have to do with portals in time as well as in space. And I think that some of these portals, again, be they spatial or time, well, let's call them dimensional, are in fact non-stationary. They're moving around. And you mentioned portals opening up in the basement as well earlier when you talked about the experience. I'm just curious what you view on these portals, because more and more we're talking about it, and there's a show I follow religiously trying to make contact with those guys, which is the Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh yeah, that show's really interesting. I gotta be careful sometimes. I don't.
No.
I get so invested in those things, and I freak
too.
myself out that I can't sleep for a week, and I'm like sleep with the lights on. My mom's like, "What is wrong with you? That's what scares you at night? For all
I
the
hear
things
you.
you've seen, that's what spooks you."
It's crazy though, especially again. I've tried to make contact, but obviously, I don't have that kind of money. I'd love to invest there, but sorry, but you did mention that there was this portal potentially opening up, or just curious what your experiences are with portals of whatever nature they might be.
Yeah, I have like a secret obsession with portals. I try not to talk about it too much because it genuinely like freaks people out, because it kind of makes people think about forever and like everything, and like that's a really overwhelming thought for a lot of people. Seeing into forever is a lot of responsibility, and for me, forever goes in every direction, so it could be, it's just like all of the knowledge all of the time, but it's too much. But portals, I've had this obsession with them for a very, very long time. My grandmother, when I was growing up, before the significant shift where everybody was just super different, I basically feel like I woke up in a stranger's world, but it's my body. And so things were just off. Like there was just weird stuff that was just different. And ever since I was a little kid, I think I was like 4, my grandma was really spiritual, and she would talk about like fairies and gnomes and witches and goblins and things like that. And I remember her reading to me a book called The Rainbow Goblins when I was a kid. And I don't know that there was necessarily a portal in that particular thing, other than the rainbow itself was kind of a portal. But that, like, I think that kicked off my obsession. And then my dad's a big Star Wars guy and Star Trek and stuff like that. My dad really likes just space things, like anything astronomy, my dad is about it. And especially like time travel and space travel and just, all of the sci-fi that you can come up with. My dad is like, yeah, that's cool. He used to talk about like space portals, like wormholes and black holes and things like that. My dad would talk about all kinds of science-y star stuff when I was a kid, and it would just drive this like weird fuel inside of me that there's just ways to open doors places. And I don't know exactly where that feeling came from, but it was like, I need to know where the doors go.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that I couldn't find them as a kid, so I was like, for a while I was like, oh, that's just imaginary. That's what everyone means when they say that my imagination is too big or whatever. But then I started learning about like fairy portals, and like there's different kinds of portals. And then I read Narnia. I don't remember which book it was, but there's a book where all of these different puddles are like access to different worlds. And that's the only part of reading Narnia that I remember for the most part until I was significantly older and started with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's one of the Chronicles of Narnia. There's a boy that falls into a puddle in the attic, and then all of a sudden or a crack in the attic or something. I don't know. He falls into this weird world where it's trees and moss and puddles, and all these puddles are like different worlds, and you can sometimes forget like where you're from and who you are if you're like not careful with jumping in between them, basically. And that's all I retained from that story. I have no idea what story it was. I don't even know if that's actually a Narnia story anymore, because I've never heard anyone else talk about it. Like, I don't remember. I was like 9. But portals were everywhere. And so I have seen people and things come out of the only thing I can astute to be portal in multiple facets in my life. And it's so crazy sometimes to witness it, because it feels like a cartoon or like a big Hollywood blockbuster, and your brain is like, there's no way. Like, did I walk onto something? This is a dream, right? Like, there's no way that space literally rippled like someone dropped a rock in water, and now there's something like pulling me into the sky, but I'm actually coming out the other side of what feels like water. That feels really specific. That feels like a really specific experience you would see someone have in a movie. There's no way that definitely happened. And then it's like, but no, now everything's just a little bit different. So did it happen? And I feel like people fall into portals all the time, especially to go back to the 411, the missing 411. I totally believe in something is inside of the planet. I have this indescribable, irrational fear of dying somewhere inside the planet and not being able to be found by people on the surface. And that's a very specific fear to have for someone. And I got it watching the movie Sanctum, where it was a bunch of like spelunkers who got flushed down into this big cave and had to like go through the earth to like find a way out, basically. Based on a real story of some cave divers who got washed out in a storm and were like super, super deep into the planet, like looking for caves to just crawl through. Beautiful story. Absolutely terrifying if you're claustrophobic or afraid of drowning. But they have to like go through a very deep part of the earth to basically try to find the ocean to like come back up to like regular land, because they went in this huge cavernous pit out in like Brazil, I think. But I feel like stuff like that can definitely take people into other worlds. Like, sure, a lot of the times caves get continuously explored, but how do you explain when a bajillion people are going to this cave and walking back and forth and everything's fine, but like people just vanish, like a door opens somewhere? I don't believe that you can be in a crowd of people and just blink out of existence without having some kind of access somewhere. Like, either someone's pulling you, or you happen to walk into like a ripple or like a tear. You know, like there's just like grocery stores. People will just appear and disappear in grocery stores. Yeah. There's an alternate universe where I had somebody rob me at an HEB. They blinked into existence, they stole my purse, and they just casually walked away and vanished into a crowd of people that didn't make sense for someone to just disappear into, like a movie where like they clearly just cut them out of the screen or whatever. And I've had other people witness that and feel like this definitive split where it's like, I happen to be actually holding my purse because a different me responded differently, and I happened to tune into the one that was like, stealing my wallet, forget you, bro. And then it's like, oh, now I've made a decision. I stepped through a rip somewhere. Like I went in somewhere else.
So like, I've got 2 examples. Whitley Strieber's wife and her friend went into the toilets, and They walked into, the door that closes to the public, and then there was only one stall. One. And there was clearly someone there. And when that person left, they could see into the stall, and of the pair of them, one was going to use it, and then the next one was going to use it. But as they walked in, a person appeared out of nowhere, pushing their way past, and refused to have an interaction with them. Like, much to the distress of Whitley Strieber's wife, who went, hey, where did you come from? And then the person looked lost and disorientated because they realized they were in a bathroom for some reason, and left and never to be seen again. People on the outside of the door saw the person leave. Right? That's number one. It's a great story, and I love that it's happened because someone got to tell it. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
The other one was a kid in Australia who, just like the 411 books and stories, he went missing on their farm. It was hilly terrain, and it was a long driveway, and for days was missing. And they did that, lockstep kind of search party where they walk side by side and cover every millimetre, found nothing, and then not even, say, 50 yards from the house, he just appeared again. And it was days in a t-shirt.
And we should mention that he was also on the spectrum of
he
autism,
was on the spectrum, yep.
Which seems to be another thing that seems to happen to kids like that quite often.
I know I'm on it for sure, because not everyone is the center of the bell curve, right? Anyway, so he reappeared again, and the guy had just looked in that exact spot again, looking for any clues, and was there for some time. Turned around and there's the kid back without even any distress or no signs of exposure, living in being in the wilderness for no, like, with no evidentiary symptoms or signs or anything. Like, how can you do that? Unless there was a portal, unless you fell into it, or like you said, you fell into it, or someone pulled you into it, and then I discovered, after all of this, something that Kane Pixels had made. It's a fellow put together the liminal spaces backrooms.
Yeah. Oh my god. That was a visceral experience to see that for the first time, because I was like, wait, this is a joke to people, but other people experience this feeling, like, oh my god, like, it was, I don't know. The internet is a magical place, and I'm chronically on it for a reason.
How did it affect you? Did you have to discover as much of it as you could? Did you watch all of his ones, and then there was knockoff ones as well, but made it kind of fun of it? But the psychological fear of being in a place that there is no exit to.
So the first time I played a game like that, just for reference as to why I'm about to tell you I did not play that game, it was on Steam years back, and I played this game called Amnesia, and I'd never played a scary video game before, and I was living in a haunted apartment, and it was just the scariest stuff ever. It was the stupidest thing I did, because it just helped the weird entities in that apartment creep on me more. But I saw a video of someone talking about the liminal spaces on YouTube, and I was like, backrooms? I saw that on Twitter 5 years ago or whatever. And the guy was developing it at the time, so I'd seen bits and pieces, but I didn't understand it. And there's some internet lore that I've missed for a long time because I wasn't on Creepypasta or whatever that stuff was back in the day. Yeah. Like Slenderman and stuff. But I have a friend who's crazy into scary, weird, traumatic, space breaking stuff like that. And so he shared. I watched my friend play it in person, and it was absolutely horrifying. I can't handle it because that's how my life just feels. With a little bit more people interactions. Sometimes it really feels like I'm alone and there's just weird stuff about to happen. and there's just strange squelchy noises coming from like weird directions, and like my imagination just conjures up terrifying things. But I've also seen things I don't have words to describe that were absolutely horrifying also. So it's kind of like, what's worse, my imagination or the things I've seen? I don't know, but I don't want to see any of them again, especially in a more physical manifestation. No, thank you. No, thank you.
So
most of it is terrible.
So there's the comedian Stephen Wright. When I was growing up, his album "I Have a Pony" was just tremendous, and he says when someone asks him how he feels, he says, "You know, when you're on a chair and you lean back, so you're on two legs, and you lean back, and just at the last minute you catch yourself." He said, "I feel like that all the time."
Yeah, sometimes I get waves of that feeling, and I didn't like it as a kid. At all. I wasn't a kid who tipped in their chair, and so when I would tip, it was that feeling, and I don't like it. And I feel like it happens more as an adult. Like I randomly just trip on stuff, but I don't always fall forward for some reason, and it doesn't make sense to me. It's almost like someone's pushing me back so I don't fall forward, but that push back is too much to correct because I'm not expecting it, and like it feels like gravity just fails me sometimes, and then I get these shifts where I feel like I'm in the back rooms, and I'm, I could be at my job. Like I used to work in a grocery store, so I was helping stock one time, and there's only like 10 people in the store at the time. It was like 4 a.m. But the person I was stocking with, like stocking the shelves, she was like, "I'll be right back," and then she disappeared. Like I don't remember her turning in any direction. She didn't even make it to the end of space of the, what do you call it, aisle, before she just kind of blinked out of existence. And then I couldn't find anyone in the store, and I started panicking because I was like, what the hell what is going on? I could not find anybody. I was trying to call people, and no one was answering their phone. I heard some people's phones ringing, and I felt like I was running around in circles. Like I felt like they were right next to me, but there was nobody around. And then I ran outside to my car to just to smoke some weed and chill out, because I was like, I have to be crazy. I have to just perfect timing where I miss everybody by milliseconds, and they were just around the corner. And I went back into the grocery store, and it was full of employees and customers. And I was like, no way. Like I called out sick the next couple days and had to call a friend of mine and was like, dude, I think I'm going insane. And he was like, no. I was like, I'm genuinely like crying on the phone. Like, I think you need to commit me. I think you need to call my mom and my dad and tell them this is it. I'm a Looney Tune now. Like, this is because what the hell. But then my roommate and I would talk about it happening. Yeah, like my roommate, like we went to the grocery store and she had an experience where like she just a freaking what do you call those end caps of wine just appeared, and she tripped over them and knocked over like 6. And even the girl that was standing next to us that worked at the store was like, where did those come from?
Wow.
Like, oh my God. And so I'm like, it doesn't just happen with people. Stuff just appears and disappears. I used to make jokes that it was gremlins. Like the gremlins put their invisible hands over the thing you're looking for, and that's why you can't see it. Like maybe you just blink in your brain, because there's also, they say your brain forgets to process things. And so you could be looking at something and not see it. So it's like, oh, it's hiding in plain sight. And I'm like, nah.
Could you go ahead,
100% true. There's this one. Sorry. First of all, it sounds like Langoliers. I don't know if you ever read the book or saw the movie. It's a Stephen King thing where people are just out of step with time. They're like 10 seconds behind time. And then the Langoliers come to eat the rest of the world as time runs out. But that's... Oh my goodness. So you could... But the thing is this happens to me all the time. And I always would do what you do. I would rationalize it. I didn't see it, didn't process it, I forgot where I put it. Until one time in Singapore, I was sharing a room with a friend of mine, and I put my phone in my shoe. Don't ask me why. I just put it in my shoe.
Not wearing it, of course, but you taking your shoes off and you...
Yeah. And the shoes I didn't wear. I left them in the hotel room, and then I went back out to do something. The phone was fully charged when I put it in the shoe. And I went out and left, came back to the hotel room, and to retrieve my phone. My phone is gone. Completely. My friend calls it, we call it, nothing. And we come back after we go out, and lo and behold, it's back in my shoe. So I know for a fact that I looked in the shoe. In the first instance, it wasn't there. Went out of the room, came back into the room after a little while, and it was back in my shoe. So maybe it's the gremlins, maybe it's the leprechauns. I don't know what it is, but I think things phase in and out of these worlds, to your point, just appearing. And it could be large things, could be small things. If they're small things, we dismiss it. If it's large things, we usually say, it's just a hallucination or whatever. But it happens. It happens. And this is really critically important to understand in our reality. It's not as solid as we'd like it to be. It just isn't. And these things can come and they phase in and out, going someplace. The best example of that is maybe orbitally rearranged monatomic elements or white gold powder.
Yes.
Of the platinum group. So Orme, if you heat it up to a certain temperature, it actually produces negative gravity. Right, and it disappears. It becomes physically less. In fact, it completely disappears if you heat it to a certain temperature. And where does it go? Is the question, right? And then it comes back. We had this was one of our very first shows many years ago. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the monatomic elements and you break down gold into this white powder stuff, it acts very strangely. And it has to go somewhere because it does come back. And this is the thing. Yeah. Things disappear, and with the 411 stuff as well, right? I mean. They searched this area, couldn't find anything. Many times, search, and then these shoes and his clothes, or boots, as it were, boots and a backpack. Mm-hmm. They all of a sudden they appear. There they are.
That's right.
Well, not the guy, but the stuff.
Just the stuff. Yeah.
And you go, but we searched it. To Dave's point earlier as well, many times, and now it wasn't there, but now it is. So it is real. And see, most people don't want to know about it, Zoe. Obviously, it's scary. It's unusual, and I had some very uncomfortable and even heated conversations with people I thought are my friends about these things. Mm-hmm. Because you're shaking at the foundation of their belief system. And I was going to ask you as well, as you have these experiences and you try to talk to people, are you now more careful? Do you pick and choose whom you talk to? Or because you said, look, and I feel the same way. It's great when you come across people that you don't have to explain too much. You just talk about the stuff because you understand the stuff, whatever it might be, right? But are you more cautious or?
I would say after COVID, I'm a lot more cautious because people showed me during the pandemic, like mayhem that just everybody was in the middle of. They showed me that they not only don't value what I'm saying or my experiences, they specifically don't want to value it because they don't want to face the reality of those things really existing or being part of reality, because then you have to like acknowledge other dark things like about your regular day-to-day personal life while also processing that on a global scale. And I think that can just be really understandably overwhelming for some people, especially if that's how they wake up. And so now I'm a little bit more cautious because also some people say, this is the one that gets me, people say that they're really into that, they're really open to it, they want to hear my experiences, and then I share experiences and it freaks them out or drives them insane, or it makes them like really obsessed in a really unhealthy way, and then they start doing things that become very dangerous to the surroundings of their energy and what I feel like is everyone's personal universe. And like when you can see people just kind of going down that dark path of like, hey man, that's not the way you should be doing that, like time jumping or trying to shift things or, you know, trying to influence the stuff around you, or if you figure out how to navigate through portals or like dream time traveling, like people just, you gotta be careful because some people are very quick to abuse power, and especially spiritual power. So I've been really careful with it recently, but for a long time I would just open my mouth and flab my gab to anybody who would give me the time, because sometimes I would really wake people, I would shake them and they'd be like, whoa, wait a second, I've never thought about it like that. What? And sometimes people, it changes their life for the better. They're like, holy wow, I'm so glad that I started like paying attention to these things because I'm not as miserable. I'm able to, you know, live in the sort of frequency that I feel I'm best at, and like I've shifted into like a happier reality, and I'm glad you're part of it. Sorry that you're still being vivisected and like randomly abducted in the middle of the night and like feeling like your brain is soup. Like that's not great. You know, I'm doing great. And it's like, you know what? I'm glad. I'm so glad for you.
So we learned very early on that with all the research that we've done on all the topics we've done it on, that trying to tell someone what we currently know doesn't allow them to process it like they would have if they'd gone through the steps we went through, the stepping stones of knowledge to get to the answer. And
I agree.
It does not help anyone, and rather, I would even say it can break someone.
Absolutely.
It can really damage someone. So, honestly, if anyone ever asks it, so Meki and I, we used to chat before we had a show, and people would, you know, we'd be chatting after a couple of wines, and the audience within hearing distance would suddenly cease all their conversations and listen to us, and we would we joked about this many times in our show, but we would hope that at some point on their ride home they would continue to talk about it. But we found we were more like television. People were interested in
entertainment.
Entertainment.
Yo.
So
you ever
entertainment while they
feel...
listened, but after that, no, then that's it. They turn off.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you are on a reality show being watched, but like processing that someone's watching you from somewhere? Yes. Okay, so that's like a recent experience that people are telling me that they are having, which is making me feel very not alone anymore, but also very concerned because, oh no. Like I don't know if people need to wake up to that part yet. I don't know. I think that's a part of society that can't handle like the potential of like the government actually coming out and being like, no, yeah, aliens and inner space demons and Godzilla, like that's all real, guys. I don't know if most people can really process that, which is why I think we are coming to this weird consciousness where people are learning to shift between whatever the time walls are, if you will. Because I think people are realizing that they can do that now, but they're not all understanding like what's happening. But I think everyone's suddenly feeling like we're being watched. And like to go back to part of what you were saying earlier really quick, because I just had this thought like come back around like a circle. With oh no, I just lost my train of thought. No, come back. Oh no.
It just means it'll come back again. That's
I was like, it'll come back.
All right, so
rats.
So wait. So Becky and I just don't press enter again on the search because it'll take longer. So Becky and I we had that experience of like Neo and Morpheus with the lady in red, except we were in the city at a subway station, and everyone seemed to be just going about their business like ants, and we weren't.
Yeah.
We were there in amongst them.
Oh my gosh.
Standing in positions where we weren't in collision with anyone, and we were just talking, and everyone else was going around us, and it was I had that epiphany at that point of, this is really happening. This is their lives. Each of their lives is contained within their thoughts right now, and we are nowhere near it. We're observers on theirs, and it was bizarre.
Oh, that's trippy.
So
yeah, I've had a similar, not quite like it was like an out of body experience. It was like that where I was watching people that felt like ants, and it was like I'm just here to watch everything. Mm-hmm. But that's something that people are talking about a lot more online too, which is really interesting because it's kind of trippy where it's almost like you're in movies where they have a character standing there and everything's moving around them really fast, like life is happening around them, but they're just in their center of universe.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think sometimes that you're also just like the random comment in someone's like time stream where like, yeah, if you guys are being processed, like without being processed, someone's walking past you and hearing you say like, yeah, there was a portal that opened up in like, you know, that mall out in Florida and like things hanging out of it and people were shooting and then all of a sudden that's the end of the thing that they hear and they're off to their next thing, like not fully taking that in. Like I hope someone like goes home and thinks about that. Like I hope it wakes them up and they're just like, wait a second. Was that guy talking about what I think he was talking about? Because I do think that you do influence the world around you, even in the smallest ways, if people don't consciously see it. Like 100%. If you're having like if you're just like you're chilling, and it's like entertainment, it's like TV almost, because you can feel that someone's looking at you, but you're not sure like what it is they're seeing or what they're hearing. And so for me, if I have a moment of that sort of, I don't know if you want to call it like a sobering moment, because it kind of sometimes feel like you've stepped out of place too. When you like feel like you're being watched and you're like, oh no, like there's a lot of eyeballs all of a sudden. Like I just act normal. Like
so the flip side of all of that is that people will actively choose to ignore you because it's all crazy talk.
Yeah.
Right? And that's fine. Don't mind who you are, and each to their own. Until they have the exact same experience you talked about, and now the next time in their conversation with you, they'll just suddenly open up and go, "Oh my God, you were right." And they go, "About what?" And they go, "Oh, this thing, and it just happened to me, and I can't believe it." Yeah, welcome to my world.
But that's the kicker.
Oh my gosh!
Because unless it happens to you, and I guess we're all doubting Thomases, right? Unless it happens to you, then you don't believe it. In fact, even if it does happen to you, a lot of people will insist that it didn't. And a lot of people have told me their experiences, and some are truly bizarre. I mean, bizarre. And they didn't want, they don't mind if I talk about those experiences to just others or even on the show, as long as I don't mention anyone's name. And I go, no, of course, it's in the vault. But it is this, because the thing is this. If your ontological foundation is gone, then the question becomes, well, what is my existence based upon? A lot of people would be, if you cast them adrift in the metaphorical river of existence, they don't know themselves enough to be coherent or to form an entity that could survive, because a lot of people define themselves by what they're not and who they associate with rather than who they are. Right? I mean, if you ask someone, how are you doing? What's your name? Okay, what do you do? Or we know, who are you? Or even if you ask them, who are you? I'm an accountant. No, who are you? Right?
Yeah.
And you take the framework away that we define ourselves by, then all of a sudden we're on very shifty ground, and you go, oh, I don't really know what you mean. Because a lot of us still, because a lot of not enough young people with insight, I guess, we are dependent upon the framework in which we live and inherited beliefs. If you ask someone who's Catholic, why are you Catholic? Oh, my parents are Catholic. Or Protestant or Muslim or Jewish, I don't care what it is, right? Or even a communist. So you're communist? Yes, why? My parents are communists. Okay. What does it mean? In fact, you know what my favorite game, Zoe? It's mean, actually. I'm a mean-spirited little demon. I ask people about their belief system. If you're Catholic, okay, what does that mean? Explain to me the Trinity.
I do that.
Don't answer it.
Right? Do you?
I do.
Isn't that the best?
I've been a lot nicer about it over the years because I've had, like I said, I've had some crazy religious experiences that, like, if I could tell you about any of the most interesting things that have happened to me on a spiritual level that I don't believe, it's everything religious, because I don't know what to do with that information because it's so different from everyone else's religious experiences that, like, I'm really frightened that this might be something I'm alone in, and I kind of need someone to talk about it. But yeah, no, it feels like you gotta teeter with some people. But I absolutely run amok, and I'm the devil's advocate when it comes to things like that. I'm like, oh, so do you believe this? Oh, do you agree with these things over here? No. Yeah. Oh, what? Whoa. Yeah. So what do you believe? And people are like, what do you mean?
It's
like, no.
My favorite things when so you believe I will burn in hell? Yes. Right. Okay, so as long as we understand each other, that's good. Thank you. It's
like, nice. I'll bring the marshmallows.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, most people don't understand what it is they're meant to believe. And that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't care what you believe, as long as you understand it, right?
And understand
If you tell me the very foundation. See, the thing is this, again, it comes down to defining yourself, right? Because if you don't understand what it is that you represent, people can get other people to blow themselves up, And you know what the funniest thing is? Because I know the Bible back to front, the Quran, I read them all. Anyway, the funniest thing I find is in the Bible, nowhere does it say that you have to prosecute witches or burn them or whatever. What it says, very specifically, mixes of poison, right? And it's a mistranslation or intellectual laziness that all of a sudden a mix of poisons becomes a witch. And all of a sudden you got Salem, right? And nowhere does it say this, though. This is what really bothers me a lot. And all these are, Harry Potter is evil. What? Well, first of all, none of the Harry Potter novels have anything to do with Satanism, which is what you're really referring to, Mr. Christian.
Right.
And we're talking about paganism, which is a misnomer as well. I like to call it the old religion, for want of a better word.
Yes.
In fact, if you go back far enough in time, you'll find the mother goddess, you'll find the divine female. Anyway, that would go too far in this show, but and we've just made this statement because all of a sudden the male patriarchy, obviously male, double dutching it there, but the patriarchy all of a sudden gained power some 6,000-7,000 years ago, and wrested the power from the divine females, the women, the female kings, etc., the priestesses, and they established the monotheistic Abrahamic religions, and they had to do this. They had to degrade women. They had to degrade women's power in order to build their own power base. But most people, if you say that to them, oh my God, it's the kind of worms. Zoe, I'm sure you're familiar with it, right? But it's
not like that. It's well, I can't tell you what it is, but it's not that. Yeah, I get that a lot too, where it's like, no, dude, like, I just follow through with what you think is going. Like, I just need to know that you understand that this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, if this happens because of your belief over here, then this is the result. No, and it's like that. Okay, so then what do you believe in this other thing then? That, whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know. Now I gotta think about it. And it's like, good, you should. Thank you. Welcome. Like, yes, please think about it. Think about it more.
No, but that's the thing, and people like yourself, and I know Solaris feels similar as well. It's just this. You know what I'm afraid of the most is ignorance. I fear it. I fear it like you wouldn't believe. I have a physical phobia of, because I see ignorant people, willfully stupid people. I see them all the time.
That's a good description.
And I'm terrified. I'm terrified because I don't know what they're going to do. And I know I can't reason with this. That's the other thing. I know I can't reason with them. It doesn't matter what I say at all, either.
Yeah.
So it terrifies me more than anything else. I had a recent experience in the car park. I was just a bystander, but this guy, he was just berating his girlfriend or wife. I can't remember what it was, but I mean, nothing physically violent. But I listened to some of the things he was saying. I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe a human being could actually think or say things like this. And I was just going, but this is a person here in the 21st century standing in the car park saying these things and trying obviously to control the woman at the same time. And it terrified me. It really did. Because that kind of person will come to my house and burn it down if someone tells me, oh, there's a witch inside, or let's burn those books, they're evil, or whatever.
Yeah, and it's kind of frightening, it's frightening how many of them there are, and how when people are referring to sheep, it's those kinds of people where, like, they just, sometimes even interacting with them, it's like you're not even talking, like they're talking to a wall or something. They are screaming at someone about something, but it's not you. It feels sometimes like with people in those situations, like you cannot speak to them. They do not hear you. And they just do weird stuff that doesn't make sense. And they're like really belligerent and just odd. And like, it literally feels like they're kind of out of step with time. Like some of their reactions are super delayed, or like they just act completely irrationally. And you're like, I don't understand. What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? I don't understand. Like, I am confused you asked me if I was putting the shopping cart away. Like, yes, that's what I'm doing, putting it away. Do you need it? Well, get away from that. I need one. Yeah, okay, so here you could, like, you know what I mean? And it's like this back and forth where you're like, do you want me to get it for you? And it's like, don't touch it, get away from that. Can you just hand it to me? And it's like, why are you fighting me? I'm trying to help you. And it's like, no, I don't need your help. And then they immediately ask for it afterwards. And you're like, so what do you want? Do you want the help or do you not want the help? Like, do you want to understand your beliefs more thoroughly, or are you just going to blindly take some bullet points and say that you read the Spark Notes when, like, it's just a little bit of effort and you would know what's going on at least a little bit more? Do you want to, like, I don't know, sit at the big kid table with people that you can, like, feel enlightened with and not miserable when you go home because no one likes talking to you because you say weird, dumb shit sometimes? Stop, sorry. Like, ignorant people freak me out sometimes too, because it's just like, I don't understand. Like, why are you like this? How have you made it this far in your life being this absent-minded or, like, just not self-aware? Please join the rest of us and just be self-aware. Like, learn self-awareness. Just process the area around you and think about other people and how that collectively affects us, instead of just following some random person who's telling you what you should and shouldn't do with your body or your house or your job or how to raise your kids or, you know, what to eat. Like, maybe think for yourself. And a lot of people don't know what that means. I've met a lot of older folks recently, specifically, like a lot of Zoomers for sure too, but a lot of older folks are sitting here in these, like, nursing homes or, like, living with their family right now and learning how to use the internet more. And they're like, wow, I didn't realize I was so dumb. And it's like, you didn't know stuff. Like, that's okay. Like, someone just didn't show you that you could. Some people don't know that they can ask questions. Like, my mom was telling me recently that she didn't think when she was younger to ask questions the way that I do. She was just told, you do what you're told, and then you just do that, what you're told. And so now she's like, why didn't I ask more questions? And it's like, I think a lot of people don't.
Remember the style of education that they went through. They had to endure, and it was just the rote method. You write it down on the board 100 times, you're going to have to remember something from it. It's going to be the test, right? Not the why, not the how. And why? I can't make my brain determine why if you're only giving me the answer. It doesn't matter what two numbers you wanted to multiply together. If you write any number on the board and tell me that's the answer for that, why? Right? But it's not that way. So Meki's comment, willfully stupid, I think it's a good representation of someone who is ignorant and doesn't want to learn, doesn't want to participate in other people's lives. They've got an idea, a mindset. They're just going about their business. Everything else is irrational to them. Everything else is irrational. Have you ever had someone, kind of like on The Matrix, turn into an agent, suddenly oppose you for no reason whatsoever? Yep. Because I have.
Yep, it happened. Yeah, it's happened handfuls of times, but the most recent time was my friend in California that I went to live with last September.
Where in California?
I've talked about Pacific Grove.
Oh,
right next to Monterey Bay.
Yeah,
gorgeous place, really interesting, nice little town. I was really excited to live there, and it was very short-lived. I've referenced this a couple times as going to bed in the house of a friend who seems kind of confused and waking up in a stranger's home, where he and I both recognized that something was wrong, but neither one of us wanted to admit what it was or, like, acknowledge it. And I literally watched him transform. His energy shifted completely around him, almost like this fog that, like, kind of encompassed him. And he literally was just a different person. Like, that was not my friend. They were wearing the same face, but that was not my friend. And it was absolutely a moment where in my head I had that, like, you know, hello, Neo. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
no. Like, hold on a second. Like, wait, guys, wait. And it's absolutely haunting because, like, that's not the first time, but that's the most recent time where yeah, I got there and he was helping me move all my stuff out of the car, and then he was just a different person all of a sudden.
Because you mentioned that top of the
And then
show,
he went back to being
like a friend, not being a
Mhm.
friend, just wearing their face. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it literally feels like someone is wearing my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fairies or a skinwalker, but like it's not either of those.
Was it
Either of
Edgar
those I
skin?
feel like I could handle. I feel like, yeah, it felt like it was literally wearing my friend as like a suit,
Yeah,
like a
skin
zip up
suit.
costume. Like it's so unsettling. And I've seen beings do that, have like a skin suit, but like I could see through the skin suit to the being underneath, which was a very defeatist purpose. But like they must have known I could see it, because most of them didn't react at all, and they just kind of went about their day like it was totally fine. And if neither of us acknowledges it, cool, move on with your life. Like, shh, you didn't see nothing. And then other times they notice and they make it like very apparent that they know that I'm noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
And with my friend, it was like this feeling of, he knew that I knew something, but he knew that I was going to figure out that he was not my friend. It was like this weird, like, who's gonna say it first? Yeah, like the movie They Live. Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's like seeing, yeah, it's, oh my god, it's so creepy.
Like they can tell.
It's so,
They can tell you can see them. That's right.
yeah, and
for who
it's
they
weird
are,
because yeah, because for a while it was just like, you know, ETs and ghosts and stuff, where it's like I'm seeing that not necessarily in the 3D, but then having someone that's a physical person that you're physically interacting with constantly, that you know very well, like all of a sudden they make you feel like they know something, and then all of a sudden they know that you know that they know they know something, and it's like, oh no. It's, yeah, it is deeply unsettling, and every time it happens I call my mom and I'm like, oh, I got another one. And she's like, no. My dad too. He's like, no, not again. Like, because it's happened like probably 5 or 6 times, and it's usually guys, but the couple of girls that were really close friends of mine that it happened to, it was like a horror movie. It's just, you blink and it's just not your friend anymore, and it's like, wait a second.
So
No,
my
go
mum and I
back.
were
Rewind.
Wait, I do one sec. My mum and I were in. We were in a shopping centre, and she pulled me aside, very very narrow aisles of this supermarket, and she pulled me closer to her than I think I've ever been before I was born. I was tucked away behind her, and I felt, as she did, the gravity well of this person walking past, and it was awful feeling. That,
Oh my gosh.
you know, and then afterwards, when we got back in the car, she goes, "That man has just done something really awful," right? And
Oh my gosh, that gave me goosebumps.
it was like not evil personified, but we both felt it, and I didn't know at the time what was going on, and later on that I discovered that I had some extra, I don't know, maybe they're turned off on most people, but my senses are turned on for that kind of thing. So yeah, just extraordinary. We've only
feel
got
that.
4 minutes before the end of the show. Sadly.
I was just going to say to Zoe that she's lucky that she can talk to her parents about these things.
I know.
Not just be dismissed out of hand. I mean, look, while they might not agree with everything or whatever, but at least there's a sympathetic ear, which, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people in our, I'm being very broad here, in our situation, whatever that might be, don't have. Now, Dave had it, I had it with my mom, to some extent my grandmother, and so forth, but a lot of people, and I remember this, is a good friend of the show, is Paul, and he took us out to out bush to a really interesting Aboriginal site. But when I first met him at work, and he says, "Oh my God, I didn't think there would be anyone like me that I can talk about these things without having to explain too much." And he was into paranormal things and other things as well. And for him, it was just an amazing experience to find his people in a way, I guess. His tribe. Because before that, he must have felt quite lonely. And I think a lot of researchers, a lot of people, and we've been lucky to talk to a lot of them over the years, I think they are quite lonely. And only when when they come together, and this is a funny thing as well, it doesn't matter what brings you to the I want to say the paranormal, but I don't like that term because I think it's all just normal. We just don't understand it. So I don't think there's such a thing as paranormal. It's just part of our experience, right? It's just, but again, not necessarily accepted by everybody. But it doesn't matter where they come from, be it experiences, UFOs, the spiritual, be it ghosts, be it hauntings. It could be cryptids, right? Cryptozoology. It doesn't matter where you start out from.
Yeah.
In fact, Jim Mars started with JFK, right? Many years ago. But we all end up in very similar places with very similar understandings of reality, which is gratifying in many ways. And watching the Skinwalker Ranch, sorry to bring it to that, but I watched the guys in the first season. They go on to the show, especially the blonde head, I forget, Travis. He goes on as a complete skeptic, and you can see the shift in him over the years as he is exposed to more and more of these very odd phenomena. And if you are, then you have no choice but to really open up your mind and start thinking about, hey, maybe reality isn't as clear cut as we all hoped.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's been really awesome, and it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. And get your energy, because I can feel your energy, and your it's bubbly. It's quite bubbly.
Thank you.
And
I feel like a can of Olipop soda.
more refined than that, I should think. But it's really great, and I can see why Solaris has you on all the time as well. Don't tell me that's the music.
Thank
Dave.
You so much. Yeah, that's already the music.
Oh man!
Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are awesome. Absolutely got to get you on our show soon.
Well, this has been Shiny Side Out. We'll speak to you soon.